beautiful students. Today we are going to discuss another poem from your book Honeydew, and the name of the poem is On the Grasshopper and Cricket, written by John Keats. So as you can see, I have given picture. So here you have the grasshopper and here you have the cricket. With the help of these two pages, John Keats, who is a lover of nature, who is an admirer of nature, he has given us a wonderful nature poem. So let us see what he has to say in this poem. So before we start, I am going to discuss about the objectives of the poem. So you see, the main objective of the poem is, after we read the poem, you will be able to extract the theme of the poem, that we should appreciate what we have. So we should appreciate the nature that is a gift to us from God. You have to understand the poetic style of writing. It will enable you or the students to enjoy the recitation of the poem. You have to realize the value of nature's gift to mankind, and it will help you conserve nature in a better way. It will develop your creativity as well as imagination, and it will help you to comprehend the poem locally and globally. That means you will be able to connect with the poem locally as well as globally. So you see, before we go on, let me tell you something about John Keats. So this is our poet. He was born on 31st October 1795 in London, England. And he was one of the main figures of the second generation of romantic poets. You know, romantic poets, they had a very special feature, that is, they all of them, they were the lovers of nature. So he was inspired, similarly he was also inspired by nature. His poetry, you see, it is marked by vivid imagery. When you read John Keats' poem, through his word pictures, you see the images will come very clear, it will be very conspicuous to your eyes. There is great sensuous appeal, and you can see his love for nature. His works, they were not recognized during his lifetime, but his reputation grew after his early death. So he died in 1821 at the very young age of 26. Some of his very famous works and much anthologized works are Ode to a Nightingale, To Autumn, When I Have Fears, etc. So this is what our great writer John Keats, the great poet John Keats. So now we move on and we see what we have to deal with the poem. See students, this is the age of technology and we all are surrounded by technology and gadgets. And so you see, it is very imperative that now we just find some time, okay, and we just move into the lap of nature. We should unplug and move into the lap of nature. We should open up and we should see, we should take in the sights and the sounds of nature. And then you will be able to understand that how much you miss if you don't have any connection with the nature. So being a nature poem, you see, unlike the ant and the cricket, so the ant and the cricket, you have already read about the poem. So in that poem you see, the ant and the cricket was a poem which tells you a story. And this is a nature poem, completely different from the ant and the cricket. In that poem, Ant and the Cricket, the ant and the cricket both were shown as characters, but here the grasshopper and cricket, they don't appear as characters in the story, rather they are symbols in this poem. So here you see the grasshopper is a symbol of hot summer and the cricket symbolizes the cold winter. Before we move on, I'll tell you the poem is a beautiful piece of sonnet. So now what is a sonnet? You see, sonnet is a poem. It is of 14 lines and the poem is divided into two sections. The first 8 lines is called octave and the last 6 lines is called the sestet. So this is the the form of the sonnet, and it has very beautifully, he has delineated the beauty of eternal beauty of nature. You can see the eternal beauty of nature here. The poet finds that there is natural beauty in every season. See, most of the poets, they used to write and they used to praise the beauty of nature during the spring season or during the fine weather. But here you see there is a poet who is celebrating the voice of nature even in the hot scorching summer and the chilly cold winter. So he is celebrating this poem he's celebrating all aspects of nature, you can see. So he wants to say that never ceases. It never stops. So you can very well see that it's very well known that by discovering nature, you discover yourself. So if you have the keen eyes and keen, sharp ears, then you will be able to find the miracles of nature, and it will do wonders for you. So now let's see. You see, there is a very wonderful quote. The earth has music for those who listen. That means, you see, the music of earth is unceasing. It never ceases. And only the need is that you should have the ears, the time, okay, the ears to listen to the music, to respond to the music of nature. So now let's move on. Coming to the first part of the poem. So you see, the poem is divided into two parts. As I already told you, it's in the form of sonnet, and the first part is called the octave. What's the meaning of octave? Octave means 8 lines. You can see the first stanza, it's the octave. It's talking about the 8 lines. The 8 lines are further unique. You see, these 4 lines, they are called the first quatrain, and these 4 lines are the second quatrain. So you can see the first quatrain, poet is talking about the summer season. In the same way, the second quatrain is talking about the grasshopper. Okay, so what's the symbol of grasshopper? Grasshopper is symbolizing summer. So let's move on and see. First, I'll do the model reading. So what is he saying? The poetry of earth is never dead. When all the birds are faint with the hot sun and hide in cooling trees, a voice will run from hedge to hedge about the new mown mead. That is the grasshopper. He takes the lead in summer luxury. He has never done with his delights. For when tired out with fun, he rests at ease beneath some pleasant reed. So you see what he is trying to tell us. Before we move on, I want to tell you some word meanings are important, which I have written for you as a footnote. So what's the meaning of faint? Faint means, pain, weary, tired. So here he has pen pictured beautiful imagery before your eyes, where the birds, you see the tired birds. Birds are tired while in the hot sun. And you can see what's the meaning of hedge. Hedge means a row of bushes. So the grasshopper is moving, from one hedge to another hedge. And the new mown mead. New mown mead is of course a field of grass which has been recently cut, freshly cut grass. And you can sense the smell of the freshly cut grass. And weeds, of course, weed, it's the unwanted plants, which grow and which we don't like. So at ease, what's the meaning of at ease? At ease means comfort. So let's move on and see that what the poet is talking about. What is the poetry of earth and why it is never dead. So now let's move on. So what he is going to tell in the first part, that means the octave, the poet is saying that the poet wants to delineate the eternal beauty of nature. He is talking about the beauty of nature. The beauty of nature is eternal, it is unceasing. And what is poetry of earth? That is never dead. The poetry of earth is actually the songs of the birds and the sound of the insects. That is the music of the nature. Or you can say the oral symphony of the nature. Symphony. What's a symphony? Symphony means music. So the oral music of the nature, it continues, forever. And here the birds and the sounds of the insects, they are singing. What are they singing? They are eulogizing the glory of nature, and they are providing us with immense joy. So nature, it gives us immense joy, immense pleasure. Only you need to connect with the nature. So again I want to repeat, the poetry of earth is never dead. Why? Because you see the songs of the birds and the sounds of the insect, they continue to eulogize the glory of nature. They eulogize means to praise. They praise the glory of nature and they provide us with immense pleasure. So the poetry of the earth consists of the music of the earth. Is it clear to everybody? So during the hot summer day, you see what happens when there is hot summer day, there is a scorching heat. You see the birds, they take shelter under the cooling trees. The birds, they take refuge under the shade of the tree, and here they are very tired. The birds have become very tired and there is no sound in the atmosphere. But wait, Of course, there is a sun. So who is this? This is the voice of the grasshopper. Okay? A voice can be heard from fences of freshly cut grassland. That means from one hedge to another hedge, an insect is moving, singing and praising the nature. That is the grasshopper who takes the lead in keeping the nature alive. That means the music of nature is it is unceasing, it never stops, and the nature is always alive. He continues to sing. Who continues to sing? The grasshopper continues to sing, and his voice runs through the freshly mown meadows. Meadow, of course, means a grassland. So the voice is running. You can listen to the voice. You can understand that the grasshopper is praising the beauty of nature. And of course, the grasshopper is in a delightful mood, and his joy never comes to an end. Even in this hot and sweltering summertime, when all the birds are tired, this grasshopper is in a very joyful and jolly mood. And finally, when he is done with his fun, when he feels that yes, this is the time to take some rest, finally when he is exhausted, he goes beneath some cozy weed. So he goes beneath some cozy weed in order to get some, respite from the exhaustion, from the tiredness. So I hope the first, the octave is very clear to you. Here the main questions that you need to focus is what is poetry of the earth. As I've already told you, poetry of this earth is nothing but the music, okay, the sounds, okay, of the creatures, the music of the bird, the music of the grasshopper, the music of the cricket. These consist of the poetry of the earth. So here the grasshopper, you see, is representing the summer season. Now we come to the next. You see, I have given you a picture. You can have an imagery. You can see how the tired birds, okay, they are taking rest, okay, under the cool shade of the tree. But you remember, the poetry of the earth never dies. When they are taking rest, the grasshopper is always ready to take the lead. So now you come to the next. This is the sestet, the second part of our poem. So the sestet means, you see, 6 lines, 3 and 3, 6 lines. Okay, this is the second part of the sonnet, which is called the sestet. And let's have a reading. The poetry of earth is ceasing never. On the lone winter evening, when the frost has brought the silence, from the stone there shrills the cricket's song in warmth ever increasing, and seems to one in drowsiness half lost, the grasshoppers among some grass eating. So you see here what the writer wants to say, what the poet wants to say. Again, the poet is reiterating the point that the poetry of the earth is ceasing never. So the poem started with this declaration. He declared, the first line, John Keats declared that the poetry of the earth is never dead. He is again repeating the same thing, showing you, putting the emphasis that the music, the oral music, the symphony of the earth, it never stops. The poetry of earth is ceasing never. On a lone winter evening, in the octave part, you saw that he talked about the summer season. He talked about the scorching heat of the summer, and here he is talking about the cold winter season. And on a lone winter evening, lonely, deserted winter evening, and what is the frost doing here? Frost is again creating miracles, The frost has brought a silence. So the frost has brought, what's the meaning of brought? Brought means, as you can see, brought about. The frost has brought silence. Complete silence is there. But you remember, the earth is never completely silent. So as soon as the silence comes, you can listen that from the stone there shrills the cricket song. So the cricket has again started singing. So now the lead has been taken by the cricket. In warmth increasing ever. And song of the cricket, you can listen to the song of the cricket and understand, yes, the cricket is in a very happy and jolly mood, and it's giving a warmth in that cold weather, and seems to one in drowsiness, half lost. See, winter is a season, when everything becomes very inactive, very passive. The people also, they want to go inside their house and take some rest, okay? And you see the people, they are in a state of drowsiness. So what is drowsiness? You see, drowsiness is the state when you are half awake and half asleep. So in this state, you know, when a person is in drowsiness, he wants to enjoy the cold, cozy bed, okay, inside his house. At that time, he hears the song of the cricket, and he feels that the sound is coming from the grasshopper. The grasshopper is representing the summer season, and so he feels that the grasshopper is somewhere singing because he is in a drowsy state. Okay, he is half asleep, and now he feels that this sound of the cricket is similar to the sound of the grasshopper. Okay, so now again we will see the explanation once more so that it's very clear to you. The poet is again repeating the same point, that the beauty and glory of the earth is same even in the winter season. I already told you there are many poets, you know, they will write poetry, celebrate spring, they will celebrate fine weather, but here John Keats is telling us, is showing us that not only the spring season but the winter season also has its own charm. Even the nature is alive during the winter. You need to take in the sights and sounds, you know, of the nature, and you need to connect with the nature. So here you see he's talking that beauty and glory of earth is same even in the winter season and on a lonely deserted winter evening. You know, there is nobody there, it is deserted, and during that time the frost has brought complete silence. The frost is there and nobody is outside. During that time you can hear the music of the earth. What is the music of the earth here? It is the shrill sound of the cricket that is emanating from behind the stone, that is coming up from behind the stone. So music of the earth never stops because the song of the cricket will break the silence that has been brought by the frost. So here the cricket is symbolizing the cold weather, or you can say it is symbolizing the winter season. The poet says that the winter season has its own charm, has its own beauty, and then he is again giving us the image. There is an image of a person who is lost half in sleep, and because he is feeling half asleep, you see, he mistakes the sound of that cricket to be the sound that of the grasshopper, which is singing from some grassy hills. So the last two lines, you see, where you have been given the image of a person in drowsiness, these lines, the last two lines, they bring the summer and the winter together. You can see here the poet is bringing the summer season, that is, he's talking about the grasshopper, and he's bringing the winter season, image of winter season, where he's talking about person who is in a state of drowsiness. So the shrill sound of the cricket, you know, it synchronizes with the memory of the grasshopper's song inside the drowsy, numb mind of the person. So you see the person inside his mind, there is the impression of the impression of the grasshopper's song, and this memory and this impression is now getting mixed with the sound of the cricket, and in his drowsiness he feels as if the grasshopper is singing this song and it is not the cricket. And this way, in this cold chilling weather also, he feels that the happy memories of the summer, the luxuriant summer, the memories, they are triggered by this song of the cricket, and during this lonely winter evening, he feels as if he is enjoying the beauty and the luxurious summer season. So it triggers a happy memory of summer's natural beauty. Summer's natural beauty can be felt, okay, on a cold winter night by the person, because he's inside his mind, he has the sound of the grasshopper intact, and that is mixing with the sound of the cricket, and you can see that is giving him warmth even in this cold weather. So I think that you can very well understand. So now we come to the rhyming scheme of the poem. This is very important, and the question can come, what is the rhyming scheme? So you see, I have written the rhyming scheme is A B B A, A B B A. So rhyming words. If the question comes, then yes, can you tell us about some rhyming words? So shrills and hills, you can see these words are rhyming, and if they are talking about the rhyme scheme of the poem, then you see A, B, B, A, B, B, A, then again you have C, D, E, C, D, E. So this was the rhyming scheme of the poem. So now let us talk about some of the literary devices that has been used, poem writing, there are a lot of figures of speech that are used in order to make it more beautiful. So here you have a metaphor at first. What is the metaphor? You already previously in the previous chapter also we talked about metaphor. So it's a comparison between two things, okay, unrelated to each other, but they have some common characteristics. As if, for example, in this poem you see the first line, the poetry of earth, that is compared to the song of the grasshopper and as well the song of the cricket. So here you have the poetry of the earth. What is this? This is a metaphor because there is a clear-cut comparison. What is it consists of? Poetry of the earth means music. So whose music? The songs of the grasshopper. Then you come to the next figure of speech that has been used. It is oxymoron. You must be new to this word. Of course, oxymoron. See, it is very simple. What is this? When two contradictory or opposite words, when it appears side by side, it is oxymoron. For example, you see bittersweet. So, for example, you see cruel kindness. Now, cruel kindness. There is kindness, but what type of kindness? Cruel. So, both the words are opposite. Okay, and but both the words stand beside each other. So bittersweet, cruel kindness, or you can see dark light. Okay, dark light, you see, dark and light, they both are opposite, but they both are coming together. So here you have figure of speech called oxymoron. This is an example of oxymoron, and here you have a same case, similar case. You see the line, he rests at ease, means some pleasant weed. Now I already told you what is weed. Weed means some unwanted plants. So the things which are unwanted, it never can be pleasant. But here you see for the grasshopper, the weeds are pleasant. So pleasant weeds, both the words, weeds, something that is unwanted. But the poet is talking about the weeds, they are very pleasant. So here this is a case of an oxymoron. So let's come on to the next. The next is the alliteration, very important. And it's often asked also. So alliteration, you see, it's very easy. The repetition of the same consonant sound. You see here, this line you see from hedge to hedge. So you see the her sound H, her. So her sound is repeated, okay? H sound is repeated from hedge to hedge. So here you have a clear indication that this is alliteration. About the new moon need. Again, her sound is repeated here. You have a case of alliteration. Now you can see has brought silence from the stone their shrills. Again, this line you can see the sound is repeated here. Silence, stone and shrills. Then this is a case of alliteration where there is repetition of the consonant sound. So coming to the next. Of course, personification. In the last chapter also I told you about personification. Here also in this poem we are going to see that what is personification. I already told you when human qualities are attributed, they are rendered to some non-living thing. It's a case of personification. For example, the first line you see the poetry of the earth is never dead. So death is something that can only happen to the living things. But here it is said that the poetry is not dead. That means poetry, an unliving thing, non-living coming to the last literary device that has been used is beautiful imagery. Of course, the students, as many times you go to the poem, you can see that vivid pictures are clearly coming in front of your eyes. That's the imagery. For example, you see the birds hiding in the cooling trees. As soon as you read the line, the birds taking shelter, hiding, image comes in front of your eyes, and that is the use of imagery. You have grasshopper moving from hedge to hedge. That is again an imagery that has been used. Then you have the image of the cricket also. You have the image of cricket also singing. You have the image of man half lost in drowsiness. You can understand, you can picture before your eyes that there is a man who is feeling half asleep. So these are some of the imageries, and these are some of the literary devices that has been used in the poem in order to beautify the language of the poem. So, okay, so you see. Okay, so this was all. So now we take a quick recapitulation of the poem. Let's repeat what we have read. So the first line only, he declares the poetry of the earth is never dead, a poem which is talking about the eternal beauty of nature. You remember there are many poets who are talking about nature, but they always talk about the spring season, fine weather. But here our poet is different. He is a true lover of nature. That is why he is eulogizing and praising nature in all its aspects. So he is celebrating the beauty of nature in all its aspects. What is grasshopper? It is the symbol of the summer season, and the cricket is a symbol of cold winter season. Grasshopper takes the lead during the hot summer when all the birds, they are taking shelter under the shade of the tree. Who is taking the lead? The grasshopper is taking the lead. You see, the grasshopper and the cricket, even in the extreme weather also, they are leading. They are in the front. And so the grasshopper and cricket, you can say, the symbol of hope also. So the nature wants to show you that however adverse the climate is, the music is never dead. So they both, the cricket and the grasshopper, these two creatures, they are a symbol of hope as well. Okay, so during the winter when the earth is completely silent, you can hear the music of the earth never stops. Why? Because you can see that the cricket is singing from behind the stone. You can easily get the sound. The earth always has music for those who listen. I already told you, if you unplug and if you would take a walk, okay, in the lap of nature, if you go in the lap of nature, you can understand that. Okay, students, so I think that the poem is very clear to you. I have made my level best. I tried my level best in order to clarify all the points. I hope that the material will